Hey Ticket Squad, this is Tickets Please, and I've been Saltburned. Sometimes when you take big swings and picky nominees, you end up with a strikeout rather than a towering home run. And that's what happened to me this year. No Saltburn Surprise, no Erica Alexander, no All of Us Strangers for Adapted Screenplay, and no second nomination for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Although I will get on that part pretty soon. The best thing I can brag about this year is Bobby Wine, The People's President, made it in documentary feature. So no big mic drop moments this year. But like I did in the last few years, I'd like to take a look and see how I did. Call it an autopsy, if you will, which might allow you to compare me to other YouTubers if and when they make these numbers available. I'm not scared, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do that. Anyway, we'll take another look at the predictions I did this year along with what I missed in italics and what lied instead in parentheses. I'll compare past performances with the Big Six, a Best Picture, Best Director in the acting categories to what I did this year, as well as a summary of my picks for this year. Let's start with Best Picture. As you can see, I ended up going 9 for 10, which is a good start. The only one I missed was Saltburn, as it turned out Past Lives did have enough love to make the field. So the PGA did go 10 for 10 on Best Picture. And as for Best Director, I ended up 4 for 5 as Alexander Payne missed, and Yorgos Lanthimos hit. Perhaps inclusion here was a make good for missing director the year he directed The Favorite to 8 nominations. I was correct, though, in presuming both foreign film contenders, Jonathan Glazer, and Best Picture contender Justine Triet, would make it. Bad news for Greta Gerwig, which I did predict as well. For Best Actress, went 4 for 5 again, as Annette Bening swam in from Naiad and took the spot from Margot Robbie. I don't think this makes a big difference as far as who is winning. It's either going to be Emma Stone or Lily Gladstone. But good on her, especially since it's been 13 years since her last nomination. Best Up is Best Actor, and, well, when you know it, we end up going 5 for 5. Not much to say about it, but let's hope that's a trend that continues here. Best Supporting Actress, like I warned in my prediction video, was a bit like a Marie Kondo category because it was messy. I ended up going 3 for 5 there. I missed Rosamund Pike and my long shot attempt, Eric Alexander. The former would have been a beneficiary of the Saltburn surge, but I kind of thought American Picture could do better than expected on Tuesday, considering it had a bit of an upturn. I am pleased, however, to be wrong on Danielle Brooks missing on a nomination, even though she's the so-nod for the Color Purple remake. And I guess America Ferrera was indeed an option for that spot. I'll have to watch Barbie to see if it's a worthy pick. And finally, we got Supporting Actor, which we went 4 for 5 on that as well. I missed on Dominic Sessa, whose BAFTA nod just wasn't enough to get him there. And the only thing consistent with Poor Things in Supporting Actor was its inconsistency. Ruffalo gets a nod here, even though his co-star William Dafoe that got the SGA nod. Let's take a look at the Big Six stats from 2021 to now. And as you can see, we're right on the right path again. Back up over 80% predicting the acting, directing, and Best Picture races. I do need to keep this up. Now, over an animated film, I went 4 for 5 on that. There will be no Mutant Mayhem, as the TMNT movie didn't get the Oscar nod. I guess it lacked that storytelling oomph that Puss in Boots: The Last Wish did last year, which did get a nomination. Instead, Robot Dreams gets this year's nod, and fine. I heard good things about that film. However, I do feel a little rant coming on. Animated films have increased in quality over the years to the point where there are plenty more than 5 good films nominated in this category. Yet, when it comes time to nominate an Oscar in 23 categories, animation is usually forced to reside in its own little burg, while international films get free reign, and documentaries occasionally get another spot elsewhere. I got a feeling too many Oscar voters dismiss animated films just like my stepdad and thinking they're cartoons. And that is such a BS opinion. Animated features deserve so much better. Watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and tell me they didn't deserve more than one stinking nomination apiece. As for documentary feature, I think that door is wide open for 20 Days in Mariupol to take the Oscar as voters decided not to pass American Fiction Beyond Utopia through to the nomination round. Instead, they went with Bobby Wine. Nice. Which I did have, and both To Kill a Tiger and Four Daughters, which I didn't. And take a look at international feature. I might need some remedial tutoring as I only went 2 for 5. And the thing is, if I didn't overthink things, it might well have been 4 for 5, as I had 2 of those that made the final 5 up until the prediction video. Instead of double dipping with 20 Days in Mariupol and Fallen Leaves, with The Monk and the Gun, Oscar voters went with Io Capitano, which I wouldn't have guessed regardless, as I thought 20 Days would have made it. Perfect Days in a Teacher's Lounge. By the way, I was right in arguing they wouldn't give all the nominees to Europe. Perfect Days is from Japan. Looking at adapted screenplay, we got 4 out of 5 right, and probably thanks to that directing snub, I think Barbie has to be the heavy favorite here. I was correct in thinking Killers of Flower Moon missed, but I was wrong to what film would take its place. I was hoping they would actually nominate All of Us Strangers, but instead they went with The Zone of Interest. I got no complaints here. Also went 4 for 5 for original screenplays. I got Saltburned again. Instead, May December should have been the call, as at least that film doesn't walk away empty-handed from the nomination table. Although if you ask me, Maestro's script I don't think was good enough to deserve an Oscar nomination. It felt way more pedestrian than it should have. It kind of felt like it was necessary to do not 1 but 2 exposition dumps in its time frame instead of, actually showing and not telling. If I wanted something to just tell me a bunch of stuff, I'd just take a look at its Wikipedia page. On film editing, got 4 for 5 again, as I failed with picking Barbie instead of Anatomy of a Fall. Although Oppenheimer is the heavy favorite now, Anatomy's appearance here does make you wonder if anything might knock that film off the Best Picture run. Maybe, who knows, maybe it's Anatomy. Maybe. I went 4 for 5 in cinematography, as I did go with Saltburn, and the Oscar went with Maestro. To be fair, this was a 6 getting ahead of 5 situation, and I got no complaints with Maestro being here in this spot. Also nice to remember that El Conde, which was a film that just got nominated by the ASC, ended up making the cut here. Good for them. Production design went for 4 for 5 again, as I missed Napoleon's nomination. Went for Saltburn again. I gotta learn to quit doing that. For makeup and hairstyling, it turns out I found my sheet. It was on the very left where I had it. I was supposed to go with Killers of Flower Moon as the 5th nominee, but luckily I switched to Society of the Snow for my official prediction, and with that I will gladly take the 5 for 5. On costume design, I also went 5 for 5. If they're into spring the Oscar love, I gotta wonder if Poor Things either wins here in makeup, particularly if Lily Gladstone wins Best Actress over Emma Stone. Well, I went 3 for 5 on visual effects, as I missed out on Poor Things as Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse here. I definitely wouldn't have guessed that Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning and Napoleon would have made the field here. Over in sound, also went 3 for 5. I was wrong with Napoleon and Barbie there, as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning and The Creator both grabbed their second nominations here. This kind of feels like a category I think Oppenheimer would probably prevail in. Looking at score, again for the 3 for 5s. This time, The Zone of Interest and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse failed to get nominations, as I should have gone with American Fiction and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I guess I should predict John Williams, much like Diane Warren, to get Oscar nominations until he dies. Speaking of getting Oscar nominations for anything and everything, the song category had me going 3 for 5 again, and the truth is I should have played it safe and placed It Never Went Away instead of Am I Dreaming to get a 4 out of 5. Still would have missed Road to Freedom regardless, while Jage, A Song of My People, made it in instead. And yep, in case you're wondering, Diane Warren is responsible for the fire inside for the film Flamin' Hot. Over an animated short, we went 3 for 5 is probably the biggest snub of the day, Once Upon a Studio. Misses the cut, and also is missing is BAFTA nominee Wild Summon. Honestly, this was a pretty bad day for the Mouse Kingdom. BAFTA apparently went 2 for 2 last year and 0 for 2 this year. Instead, Oscar went with Pachyderm and Our Uniform, which I wouldn't have guessed in a million chances. Over in documentary short, I went 3 for 5 again, as Deciding Vote and Camp Courage failed to get nominated. Instead, Oscar went with Nine and Waipo and Island in Between. 2 films I wouldn't have guessed had a chance, although I did have Nine and Waipo moved up some from where it was earlier. And live action shorts, yikes. I got a note that says I need to stay after class after going 2 for 5 there. The Anne Frank Gift Shop, Strange Way of Life, and Yellow all missed the cut. And in case you're wondering, Yellow is the second BAFTA film, as the Academy voters went with Invincible, Night of Fortune, and Red, White, and Blue instead. Only the latter one was a consideration for me, but I think in this category it's going to come down to the 2 Netflix shorts here. Henry Sugar has a star power, but I think The After has the more compelling story. So how'd I do? Let's take a look at the nomination list for the last 4 years. Basically, I did take a step forward from last year's embarrassment, as I predicted 73% of the nominations correctly. I would like to go back to the first 2 years where I ended up with over 76% right. Finally, let's take a look at the list of nominations and compare to what actually transpired. In most of these, I was pretty close, with the exception of Saltburn, which left with nothing. The holdovers did slightly worse than expected. Makes me wonder if they're a legitimate threat to take Best Picture for Oppenheimer. Who knows? The answer may be nobody. And this concludes my nomination predictions results video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to pound that sub button, hit the like button, and share the word. We'll see you next time.